already know. Squad.
He 600, boy, and he keep that pole, boy. You gon' get fucked over.
Was in the cell with D-Rose when they gave him that time on. Oh shit, hurt my soul.
A little bitch. Stress game. Fuck a little bitch. Fuck Kyrie a little bitch.
Oh, delete that completely. Delete that.
No, I'm videoing it.
I want to video that.
I don't know if you still are. You was helping out D-Rose.
Oh yeah, my wife. My wife played a big part in that, with getting in touch with the Innocent Project.
Yeah.
The guys from the other side, they bragging about it. He in jail. But they know he ain't do it. That's the first thing they said. He ain't do it, but we glad his ass in jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, bro. If he ain't do this shit, you know, he got an opportunity to be a man. They was kids.
Have Chief Keef tried to contact you or something like that? Because he was big on yelling your name out. Any of those guys kind of call you like Chief Keef or Lil Durk them?
You know my bond was $100,000. $100,000, right?
No, I didn't know that.
I went through trial with no lawyer. So, just to sum it up for you. I went to trial with no lawyer, and I sat on a $100,000 bond for like 3 years. Yes, they put that trick on all up on him and he couldn't play twice. Nah, he couldn't play. They put Tom Brady all up on him. We dunked in 26 in California. We dunked in 26 and then those stations, I ain't mumble. I just couldn't say none. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that is our brother in faith, Dirk is. And I just want him to think about like what he will gain morally, because that's what it's about in the end.
Let's get the brother D-Rose back home. The case he locked up for, most of the people in Chicago with any kind of connection to the street know that this brother locked up for murder he didn't do.
Von did it. You know what I'm talking about? Why is he in jail for some shit that Von did? They know all this other shit that he did on the paperwork. Why is D-Rose still in jail for some shit that Von did? You know what I'm talking about? I ain't no gang member no more. I'm a citizen on everything. D-Rose is innocent, man.
Yo, what it is, people, we is back. Another down Keep It G News. And they were in Chicago, y'all. We've been in Chicago the last couple days. In this video, we're going to talk about a serious topic, man. Because one of the things that I hate to see is young black males done wrong by the system. I was a victim of it. I got homeboys that was victim of it. And it grinds my gears, y'all. I can't stand it. And we see this a lot, often in our country, where you have these young teens, young juveniles a lot of times. They catch these murder cases or these attempt murder cases or, you know, a case dealing with violence. Get in front of the judge and get the hammer placed down on them. I'm talking about no repercussions. They don't give them a second chance or nothing. You talking about, yo, some of these kids be 16 years old. And it's like, I don't believe in making a 16-year-old pay for a life decision. You understand what I'm saying? They're arresting kids at 17 years old and sentencing them, taking their whole life away off a decision they made when their brain wasn't fully developed. And it's a fact that the human brain, especially when you're dealing with trauma in urban environments, don't develop to the age of 25. So why is it that the system doesn't recognize that? And one of the guys that you hear a lot on the internet is D-Rose. D-Rose, free D-Rose. D-Rose not guilty. D-Rose didn't do it. And I seen a few videos touching on D-Rose's situation. You know, his whole story. Because he just had an appeal a couple years ago. But I never seen nobody really go into detail and explain this appeal and explain his reasons for this appeal. Because I think he deserves an appeal. I don't think D-Rose had enough evidence to even be charged. In this video, I think I'm gonna serve as like his lawyer. You feel me? Because that's another thing that happens a lot of times, yo. When we get locked up young, the bill gets stuck with our parents, and most of our parents not in a situation to pay a lawyer that's gonna cost $20,000, $30,000. They just don't got it. So we get in these situations, and then we depend on public defenders or In my city, we like to call them public pretenders because they don't do nothing for you. They mainly there to try and get a deal. But what happens when the state not offering the deal? Then you forced to go to trial. Are they really going to fight for you? Most times not. I had a situation, y'all, before I get in the video. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel, support Keep It G News. That's the best way to support Keep It G News, is to become a member. Or Cash App, you can do that too. But I had a situation, y'all, when I first came home. I caught a hit and run. I might have been home for like 6 months. Hit a car, right? I was on Norton Parkway, Baltimore City, Northwest Baltimore. Hit a car, right? Got back in the car because I was drunk and I was on parole. You feel me? So once I got out the car, I looked in the I looked. They had like them windows that like reflect. So I'm looking at myself like, oh my God, I am done. I'm furry. You heard me? I say, man, look. I gets in the car, pulls off, skirt, pulls straight off. As I pull off, I get like mile down the street, up there by like Patterson Street by Campfield Elementary. I get all the way up there. For the people that's Baltimore, y'all know where I'm at. And a black truck pull up on the side of me. I'm thinking it's the police. Whole time it's the lady husband. So make a long story short, I rap to the dude. I'm like, yo, look, y'all, everything good on the car. Yo, I just can't be around no police. Make a long story short, police come, write me a whole book of tickets. Tickets came up to like $1,800. Gave me a ticket for a hit and run. So I go to court for the hit and run. And at first I went with a public defender. You know, first time in court, I tried this little move my man told me about. You know, in Baltimore, they don't really try minor cases. So you send it to circuit court. A lot of times they're going to throw it out. At least that's what I thought. So I'm thinking this is just a hit and run. This ain't really no criminal case, even though it is a such thing as criminal traffic. So I say, man, look, I can't. He trying to get me to cop out to 30 days. Mind you, y'all, I just came home. I got 5 years on the back end. Yo, matter of fact, 7 years on the back end. I did 3 years almost on 5. So I got, what's that, 8 years on the back end. Probably 7 and some change. I've been home for a while. So I'm like, I can't take 30 days. He like, well, I mean, what you want me to do? I say, yo, see if they put the main charge on stat and not cop out to the lesser one. You know what this man told me, y'all? Man, they not gonna do that. I'm like, oh, you didn't even ask him. Like, how you just gonna tell me you're not gonna do that and you didn't ask him? So I say, yo, I'm gonna take it to trial. So I know it's long with it, y'all. Rock with me. We're gonna get to the story, but this is important. So I decided to take it to trial, and I'm thinking I'm gonna get like a couple month hit. You know, it's maybe it's February. I'm thinking I'm gonna get trial probably in May. Man, it's Tuesday. They say trial start Thursday. Nigga, so my cousin, I highlight my peoples about it. My cousin gave me $1,200. Got a lawyer. I get the lawyer. Make a long story short, I end up getting found not guilty. You know, because I stopped first. It wasn't a hit and run. So I ended up getting not guilty on that case. Now, I said all that to say, that's how public defenders play for you. They're not there to get you off any charges. They, for the most part, they just going to provide some type of counsel for you just to get you a guilty plea. Because it's like, yo, how in that situation I was in, it's like, yo, you didn't even ask these people. Like, how do you know they're not going to concede or broke some type of deal out with me that's not going to send me to prison for 7 years? We didn't ask them. And you got DROSE had a public defender on a murder charge. Now, before I get into his case, I want y'all to hear a little bit more about DROSE. If you watch this video by Tay Savage, you can fast forward it, but listen to what Tay Savage said about DROSE and how the whole drill movement started, you know, from the inside, and the things that they was dealing with when it came down to police and the clout aspect of it and the things Chief Keef did. Like, this is very important before I get to the story. But check him out.
DROSE is covered on a lot of platforms, seems like daily. And it's a lot of people speaking on him, and none of them were speaking on him, know him, or really know nothing about him, or really know anything besides rumors or speculation off social media that people built up over him over the time. So, you feel me? His mama and his daddy really from, his mama and his daddy is Motown originals. You feel me? Both of them. His daddy got killed way before all of this. His daddy got killed out of town. when he was a shorty. D-Rose mama, she a gangster. She from the block. I mean, she from the town. She a real street girl, but she always wanted the best for her kids. Like, she always wanted the best for D-Rose and them. Like, when we was a shorty, like I always tell y'all, the shorties, we went to the hood schools, Carter, Dunbar, Sexton, Dulles. D-Rose and his siblings didn't go to none of them schools. D-Rose and his siblings was going to the private school that was smack dab in the middle of the hood. You know, D-Rose, he wasn't always D-Rose. You know what I'm saying? He got his name D-Rose for only needing one. So all I'm gonna say about that, shorty only need one shot. It's over with. He don't need a lot of shit. You know, for him, he only need one. You know what I'm saying? D-Rose. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he on. You know what I'm saying? But before he transitions into that, he was just a shorty. D-Rose used to hoop. D-Rose was one of them niggas. He hooped every day. D-Rose mama, Motasha, the whole time D-Rose been in and out of jail, and you feel me? She been supporting her son and taking care of the other 3 siblings by herself. You feel me? Like, that's why when D-Rose was going down for these cases and the guys weren't supporting him and he wasn't having lawyers and all that, it was so wrong because his mama stood on that business. She did the best she could. She was raising her son in jail and her other 3 kids, making sure they got through to this life. You know what I'm saying? Like, his mama is the ultimate, one of the most respected mamas in the hood, no doubt. You know? Sosa jumped right off the porch. Right as Sosa jumping off the porch, music-wise, like Sosa doing something in the hood that none of us see coming. None of us know what the fuck Sosa about to do. Like, we don't know he about to do what he finna do, what he end up doing. You know what I'm saying? But as he doing what he doing, D-Rose is doing what he doing. And they boys. You know what I'm saying? They boys. Sosa, not Sosa yelling his name, yelling his name. And it got to a point with D-Rose where it was like, bro just didn't like care. Like, he didn't care. He didn't even know what was, like I said, none of us know. None of us know what he about to do, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know what he finna do. We just all seeing Sosa go crazy, and he yelling Fo name. Fo don't even know. You know what I'm saying? So now it get to the point where it's like, all right, Fo yelling his name. You feel me? Fo yelling his name, and it's blowing up to the point where D-Rose is becoming a celebrity, bro. Like, D-Rose was becoming a celebrity right before our eyes, folks. Like, it got to a point with D-Rose where D-Rose, the guys around, like, I seen them turning into fans of D-Rose, and he was not making a song. Understand it, folks. Like, he was the first to do that, like, become known off being savage. You feel me? Like, that was just real loud. I never seen that before in person, in Iraq. You know what I'm saying? But D-Rose was blowing up like some type of celebrity. You know what I'm saying? And it got to it like, what the fuck? The niggas bitches coming. Oh, I want D-Rose. How you know who D-Rose is? You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know. Now, I get Sosa was a rapper. He was okay. He getting a little clout. Okay, bitch, seeing him. Why do you know who that man is though? Rose. So D-Rose just the first nigga we seen doing a lot. You know what I'm saying? So then it get to the point where D-Rose, he actually got bumped for a pipe right before this case, but he, like I said, you a shorty, you get bumped for a pipe 14, 15, do a couple days, a month, and you get out. So now he out for the pipe. Now some shit happened with some shit where they get to looking for Rose in the hood for an attempt. So now Rose is looking for Rose for an attempt. The hood hot as fuck. The hood is so hot. Like I never seen a hood this hot. So now it get to the point where Rose, he hiding from 12. Like he know, cause we steady walking past the cream building. They in front of the cream building across the street, like watching that bitch parked on the side. So if somebody like, it look like they camping out, staking somebody crib. So D-Rose not going to the house. He bouncing around the hood to other the guy's crib. We steady, like, damn, coming to the block like, damn, they hot as hell. We just seen them. We just seen the police right there. They just parked over there. Like, we doing all that. You feel? We keeping Rose up on where they at and all type of shit. Like, so I see D-Rose and he running around. I'm like, folk, I give folks my coat. That nigga got bumped for that shit. I'm thinking Rose like gonna be out on the streets longer. They was really on folks' ass though. Like probably a year later, I think he got caught in 12 right after his birthday. Now when D-Rose come home for this when I really realized folks was just too turned. Folk, he get out, right? He get out, folk. Nah. He at the crib. He at his crib where he stayed. His mom still lived in the hood. We all in this crib deep as fuck, bro. We in this crib super deep. You feel me? Bro, this man made an Instagram while we was in the crib, bro. You feel me? He made the Instagram while we was in the crib, bro. His first picture, before he post a picture, his first picture. I can't find a picture for no reason. But his first picture he ever posted, folks, is me, him, and Dookie from TYMB. We all sitting on the bed in our money room. He in the middle. I'm on one side. I got a black shirt on with some light jeans and it's a fat ass rip in my pants. So now he posts the picture, folks. His first picture he posts is me in it. I'm dropping the Y. He dropping some shit and Dookie dropping some shit. He in the middle. I cannot find this fucking picture for some reason. So now he in the picture. The picture went up so fast. I'm like, folk, what the fuck, folk? Like I couldn't believe I'm looking at D-Rose like, folk, your shit. Bing, 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 bing. All the guys instantly get to posting them. All the rap homies instantly get to posting them. I'm damn, folk. I'm damn. So now I'm like, damn, folk. I couldn't believe that shit. But why a couple days later, the police start catching the guys in the hood, telling them. The police told one of the guys they didn't want D-Rose in their district. You know what I'm saying? They tell them they don't want D-Rose in their district. They don't want D-Rose frolicking around through here. They gonna put something on him. You feel me? They was on that. You feel me? They on that. You feel me? They say anything go on in our area, they gonna say it's on him because this one of the reasons why when I was getting all that clout for all these rappers saying my names and songs, I tried to branch off from that shit and actually do music and get my own name that didn't have nothing to do with no hot shit. You know what I'm saying? Because what the police do is they try to equate your name getting hotter to the shootings in the areas. You know what I'm saying? Like they try to be like, okay, they basically be like, oh, okay, your name blowing up. Why all these shootings is going up? Oh, it's you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they try to do. That's what they be on. They be trying to equate the amount of shootings that be going on and that's rising to your name rising. You know what I'm saying? So it get to a point where they want to basically, and you know, by Sosa, everybody D-Rose. They made it so bad for D-Rose. Had a public made, and don't get me wrong, y'all. D-Rose, he one of those. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll never make it seem like he not who niggas made him out to be. But how the internet did him, they made it like, bro, like he just woke up killing niggas for breakfast. Like, that's how the net made D-Rose, man. And D-Rose, that's why he booked for a body right now that he ain't even do. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the internet, they made folks look like he just woke up smoking shit and going to sleep smoking shit. Like, come on, bro. You feel me? Folks was a cool guy, laughed with you. We laughed all the time. Folks smoke squares, giggle, play, act like a kid. You know what I'm saying? I already knew, like, the police was going to target him. They was going to be thirsty to be like, yeah, let's put that on him, or let's do this or do that. Feel me? I knew that was going to come. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when he got out and he got booked for a body, I knew he was innocent. Like, ain't nobody had to tell me he was innocent or none of that. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody had to tell me, like, yeah, Rose ain't do that or nothing. We already knew. You feel me? But I knew the police was going to attack them. You know what I'm saying? I knew they was going to try to get him any way they could. So, now it's like, you get to that point where it's just, I don't know, man, D-Rose. And now it's so crazy because he innocent and they still convicted him. Like, you think sometimes when you innocent, okay, I'm in this situation, but I'm going to overcome it. Like, y'all actually gave him 40 years.
One of the things I do, y'all, when I be reading into these cases, a lot of times, yo, I get so deep into the case and start feeling like I'm in Chicago. It's straight up like, it's like, yo, I understand now. Chicago, way better than I did before. And I'm going to get to what I mean by that later on in the video, but Chicago has been on a clout movement for a very long time. Very long. Probably before any other city in the United States. And Tay Savage talked about how Clout got D-Rose hot. It was Clout. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, I'm sure he did other things in the streets. But the Clout aspect overrided everything. You know, the Chief Keef shout-outs and the rapper shout-outs and, you understand what I'm saying? The DJ Academics, you know, he played a major role in this. A lot of people died behind Clout and went to prison behind Clout in Chicago. Now, D-Rose ended up catching 40 years in prison. And like I say, a couple years ago, he had a appeal, and though he got denied, I want y'all to hear exactly what happened in this court hearing. You had 3 guys on the stand. All 3 juveniles. One of them as young as 13 years old when this alleged shooting happened. Listen to how the police conducted their interviews and how they treated him as a witness. The jury trial began on September 13th, 2016, and the state's first witness was Lavita Richardson, the victim's mother, who identified a photograph of her son, A. Darrell Johnson. The state's second witness, Darrell Johnson, age 16 at trial, identified defendant in court as someone whom he knew from social media and music videos as D-Rose. On February 12, 2014 at 8 p.m., Johnson was with his brother Keyshawn Bowie, the victim, Vinzel Richardson, who was a friend from grammar school, John George, who was a friend of his brother, and Joseph Belchor, also known as White Mike, who was also a friend from grammar school. Belchor had since died in an automobile crash. The group had just come from a convenience store at 61st Street and King Drive in Chicago. They were walking down Vernon Avenue between the 61st and 62nd Street toward the victim's house. Johnson and the victim were walking in the street while the others walked on the sidewalk. As the group reached the middle of the block, Johnson observed a white van turn into the parking lot. Johnson identified the photo of a white van as looking like the white van that he had observed that night. The photo was admitted into evidence without objection. Johnson testified that his brother was presently 18, but did not testify to his brother's birthday. However, his brother later testified at trial to his own birthday and that he was actually 19 years old. Johnson testified after the van slowed down, the door behind the driver's side slid back and shots was fired from the van. Johnson was approximately 10 feet from the door when it slid open. Johnson did not look toward the open door and thus did not observe anyone inside the van. Instead, he just ran. Both he and his friend ran towards 61st Street. After one gunshot, his ears started ringing and he held his ears as he ran. Johnson observed the victim laying in the gangway on his stomach, face down in the snow with blood on him. When Johnson's brother Bowie turned the victim over, Johnson could not look and walked away. Johnson remained at Brandon Avenue and 61st Street until the police and paramedics arrived, but he did not speak to the police then, choosing instead to return home. Later that night, police officers came to his home to speak with him, and he told them what had happened. At the time, he did not state that DROSE had shot the victim. Johnson testified that on February 15, 2014, police detectives came to his home again so he could view a couple photo arrays. Johnson was only 13 years old at the time, so his mother was present. Both he and his mother signed an advisory form explaining that he did not need to select anyone from the photo arrays. In court, Johnson identified his mother and his mother's signatures on the form. The photo arrays as the one he had viewed, and one of the photos in the first array as a photo of DROSE. However, at trial, Johnson denied making an identification of the shooter from the first photo array. With respect to the second photo array, Johnson denied recognizing anyone depicted in it and testified that none of the individuals depicted were in the white van on February 12, 2014. On appeal, defendants claimed that it was error in court to allow the introduction of a name and nicknames of two local rappers whose names was first introduced during Johnson's testimony. Since this is an issue on appeal, we provide below as much details as we can from the transcript about these objections. Johnson was asked if he knew Clint Massey, and defense counsel objected, whereupon the court held a sidebar which was not transcribed and not part of the record. Afterward, trial court overruled the objection, and Johnson denied knowing anyone named Clint Massey. When the state asked if Johnson knew anyone by the nickname Rondo Number 9, defense counsel stated, objection, same reason. After the court overruled the objection, Johnson testified that he had heard the name from the internet and rap music. While Johnson was asked if he knew a person named Courtney Ely, defense counsel stated, objection, same basis. The court again overruled the objection and Johnson replied no. However, Johnson did know the nickname C-Day. When he was asked how he knew the nickname, defense counsel stated, objection for the same reason on the previous two questions. The court again overruled it, and Johnson explained that he knew that nickname from the internet and songs. Johnson testified that on March 9, 2014, police detectives returned to his home to talk to him and his mother about the victim's murder, but he denied telling them who the shooter was. Johnson testified that he viewed another photo array and identified in court the photo array that he had viewed in another advisory form that he had signed. Johnson acknowledged that this was the same array that he had viewed and that DROSE photo had a circle around it and Johnson initials on it, but Johnson denied placing the circle or his initials on it. Johnson testified that on March 26, 2014, he and his mother went to a police station, signed another advisory form, and viewed the lineup. At trial, Johnson identified a photo of the lineup and acknowledged that DROSE was in that photo, but he denied making an identification on March 26, 2014. Johnson testified that he had previously viewed a surveillance video that truly and accurately depicted Brandon Avenue on February 12, 2014. The video was admitted into evidence without objection. As the video was played for the jury, Johnson testified that clip depicted his brother, Bowie, falling to the ground, and jarring George. That clip 3 depicted George running immediately after the victim was shot and Johnson walking. That clip 5 depicted Johnson and Bowie as well as Belcher with a cell phone in his hands and George putting his hands over his face. Clip 5 also showed the arrival of a police officer and a person named Tyrese. Johnson testified that the video clip truly and accurately depicted what transpired on February 12, 2014. The video depicts individuals reacting to and running from a shooting, but not the shooting itself. Johnson testified that on March 28, 2014, he and his mother went to a police station to meet with Assistant State's Attorney Lamus, and that Johnson told the Assistant State's Attorney everything he remembered about the night of the murder. Johnson denied that the ASA asked for his consent to videotape a statement and denied that he agreed to do so. However, he admitted that he went into an interview room in order to have his statement videotaped. After entering the interview room, he had a conversation with the ASA and Detective Shipson, and he was aware at that time he was being videotaped. Detective Shipson subsequently testified at trial that his name was David. Johnson testified that on February 12, 2014, when the victim was shot, the streetlights were on, but he could not really see at that time. At trial, he denied stating during the videotape interview that it was light enough to see your face right up. It was lighting up. The streetlights were light enough to brighten up the street. At trial, Johnson admitted stating during the videotape interview that when the van approached, the door slid back, but denied having stated that he was close to the van, that he could observe both someone in the driver's seat and another person in the van, that he knew the driver as JB and the other person as DROSE, that DROSE held a gun in his right hand that was silver on top of a black handle, that DROSE pointed the gun at the victim who was in front of Johnson, that at the moment DROSE fired the first shot, Johnson was 5 feet away from DROSE, that the victim ran toward a gangway in 62nd Street, but he was shot before he can reach it. The victim was running when Johnson last observed him. That after Johnson ran, he looked back and observed the van driving off and turning right onto 63rd Street toward King Drive. That Johnson then walked toward the victim and that Johnson's brother flipped the victim over and Johnson walked away. At trial, Johnson denied telling police during a videotape interview that he provided the following reason for not selecting the shooter on February 15, 2014, because I was concerned if I point him out, he was going to find out that I pointed him out or something. Johnson identified a photo as a photo of DROSE and identified his own signature on the photo, but denied that he had signed it during the videotape interview. Johnson denied stating during the videotape interview that he observed this person shoot the victim and that he was sure because he had seen him enough times to know his face. Johnson denied recognizing the 6 photo array and denied recognizing his signature on it. Johnson testified that he did not recall the police speaking to him at his home on March 9, 2014, although he acknowledged his interview during his direct examination earlier in the day, before the lunch break. However, he now denied having testified previously on direct examination that he recalled the detective coming to his house on March 9, 2014. He also denied answering questions about the March 9, 2014 interview during the videotape statement, particularly that he had selected DROSE's photo on the array on March 9, 2014 as the person who had shot the victim. At trial, Johnson denied having stating during a videotape interview that he had selected DROSE from a physical lineup held on March 26, 2014 as the person who had shot the victim. Johnson testified that he did not recall coming to the courthouse on May 8, 2014, meeting with ASA Bob Mack, and testifying in front of a grand jury. Johnson identified a photo of DROSE but denied that it was his signature on the photo or that he was shown it on May 8, 2014. He also denied viewing the photo array on May 8, 2014 and denied that it was his signature on the array. Johnson denied ever being before a grand jury. Johnson was handed a transcript and given time to read it. He then denied that it was a transcript of his testimony in front of the grand jury. The prosecutors then read through most of the questions and answers before the grand jury, and Johnson denied having provided those answers. Before the grand jury, Johnson had testified about the approach of a white caravan and the shooting of a victim by DROSE from the van, repeating substantially the same information that he had provided during the videotape interview. On cross-examination, Johnson testified that on February 12, 2014, the night of the shooting, he met with police detectives and told them everything he knew. His mother was present during that interview, but was not present during the videotape statement and could not recall whether she was with him during the grand jury proceedings. Johnson testified that his birthday was May 8th, but he could not recall whether he testified before the grand jury on his birthday. Johnson testified that after he viewed photos of a white van at his mother's house, there was nothing distinctive about the vehicle that made him believe that it was the same vehicle used in the shooting. John George testified that he was presently 18 years old and a high school senior on February 12, 2014. He was 15 years old and a sophomore at 8 p.m. on February 12th. He was with a group of friends from the neighborhood, the victim Keyshawn Bowie, Daryl Johnson, and Joseph Belcher. They were coming from a store on 61st Street and King Drive and was walking down Vernon Avenue from the 61st Street towards 62nd Street. The block on Vernon Avenue is residential with street lights. Johnson and the victim were walking in the street while the other three were walking on the sidewalk. A white minivan drove up, heading down the street in the same direction that the group was walking. The van stopped in the middle of the street right next to Johnson and the victim. The door behind the driver's door slid open. The driver's side was the side of the van closer to George. When George first heard shots coming from the van, he observed the bottom of a dark red pant leg and a hand holding a gun extending out of the vehicle. The sleeve of the shirt was white. The door did not open that far. After hearing 2 shots, George and Bowie turned around and ran back towards 61st Street. Johnson ran in the same direction that George and Bowie ran. When George reached the corner of 61st Street, he looked over his shoulder and observed the victim running the opposite direction toward the gangway. The victim's right arm was twisted and he was falling. After shots stopped, George, Bowie, and Johnson ran to where the victim was in the gangway, laying face down in the snow. Bowie flipped the victim over and George observed a hole in the right side of his head. No one in the group had a phone, so they yelled for help and police later arrived. At some point, Belcher returned to the scene. After police gave them permission to leave, George walked to his grandmother's house, where he was staying at the time. That evening, a police sergeant came to his grandmother's house, but George did not provide him with a description of the shooter. On March 15, 2014, George spoke with a police officer at Johnson and Bowie's house, where George provided a description of the shooter's clothing, namely a red pant leg and a white sleeve. Neither George's mother nor grandmother were present. The police showed George a photo of a white van, which George identified as the same van as the shooter's van. On March 26, 2014, George went to a police station with his mother and cousin to view a physical lineup. Prior to viewing it, George signed an advisory form. The police explained that he did not have to select anyone. George identified both the advisory form and a photo of the lineup that he had viewed. At trial, George denied picking anyone out of the lineup on March 2006, 2014. After viewing the lineup, he viewed a video taken the night of the shooting, and he identified himself running in that video. George acknowledged that one could not observe the van in the video. After viewing both the lineup and the video, George, with his mother present, spoke with an ASA and told him about the shooting, but George denied informing the ASA that the defendant shot the victim. After the review, George agreed to have his statement recorded. However, it was late by that point, so he went home. The next time he spoke to someone about the shooting was in May 2014 when he came with his mother to the courthouse and appeared in front of the grand jury. Before he went into the grand jury room, he spoke with an ASA with his mother present. Before testifying, he swore to tell the truth, and since testifying, he had an opportunity to review the transcript. At trial, George denied having identified anyone before the grand jury. George acknowledged that the ASA asked him questions about the lineup during the grand jury proceedings, but George denied being asked the following questions and given the following answers. Question: did you identify somebody in that lineup? No, I didn't say it was. I didn't point that person out as the direct shooter. Question: you did point someone out though? Yes, I said it was a possibility. Question: after that lineup, but I said I wasn't sure. On cross, George testified that on the night of the shooting, events happened very fast. It was dark and he ran. Later that night, he could not provide a description of the shooter face to the police, and he did not identify the defendant as shooter before the grand jury. Keyshawn Bowie testified that he was 19 years old, that the last grade of school he completed was his sophomore year of high school, and that Daryl Johnson was his younger brother. On February 12, 2014 at 8 p.m., Bowie was walking from a store on 61st Street. His brother, Daryl Johnson, the victim, who was a friend from school, Jaron George, and Joseph Belcher, also known as White Mike, who Bowie knew from the neighborhood. The group was walking southbound on Vernon Avenue from 61st Street towards 62nd Street. Bowie did not recall whether they were streetlights. Bowie testified that his brother noticed the white van and they thought it was the police, so they ran. The van was heading southbound in the same direction they had been walking. As Bowie ran, he heard gunshots. After hearing gunshots, Bowie ran to a gangway and the victim ran to a different gangway. Bowie observed the white van, but he could not discern whether it had tinted windows. When shown a photo of a white van, he testified that it did not look similar to the white van he observed on the night of the shooting because the van had things on top of the front of it. Bowie sat in the gangway until the shooting stopped. He then went to where the victim was located. The victim was face down in the snow and Bowie turned him over on his back. When Bowie turned him over, Bowie observed the victim was shot multiple times and he had already passed away. Bowie waited until the police arrived, but when they arrived, he told them he wasn't there. He said this because he did not want to deal with none of this. After speaking with the police on February 12, 2014, Bowie left the state and returned to Chicago only when police put a warrant on him. When he returned to Chicago, he went to his mother's house, but he did not recall detectives visiting him at his mother's house on April 13, 2014. Bowie did not recall viewing the photo array. Before viewing the array, he and his mother signed an advisory form. In court, he identified their respective signatures on the advisory form dated April 13, 2014. Bowie also identified in court the array that had previously viewed. Bowie testified that he identified the photo circled on the array and that he placed his initials there. Bowie testified that photo was a photo of DROSE, and Bowie then identified the defendant in court as DROSE. Concerning the shooter, Bowie unequivocally testified. Question: was DROSE the individual that shot your friend? Answer: yes. Bowie knew DROSE from observing him on social media but denied having observed him in music videos. Bowie testified that he recalled giving a videotaped statement but denied knowing at the time that he was being videotaped. Bowie recalled meeting with an ASA and that the ASA asked Bowie if he minded being recorded. However, Bowie did not realize that the result would be a video. Bowie recalled that an ASA and a detective were present in the room while he gave his statements. Bowie denied having stated in his videotaped statement that he started playing basketball with DROSE when Bowie was 13 or 14 years old. However, he acknowledged having stated in a videotaped statement that on February 12, 2014 at 8 p.m. he was with the victim, that although it was dark, there were street lights on and he could see, that he did not observe the van until it pulled up a little bit ahead of him, and that he heard the door slide back. Bowie denied stating that when the van door slid open, he looked into the van and observed DROSE's face. However, Bowie acknowledged having stated in a videotaped statement that DROSE pointed the gun. He shot, boom, I hit the floor, and I looked, then I ran toward the gangway. Bowie acknowledged having stated that he looked at DROSE's face for 3 seconds, that Johnson, George, and Belcher ran back the way the van had come, and that when the shooting stopped, Bowie heard the door slam, and Bowie rose and went to the gangway where the victim was lying. Bowie acknowledged having stated in a videotaped statement that on April 13, 2014, he had signed a lineup photo spread advisory form. However, he denied having stated in a videotaped statement that the police had explained to him that he should not assume that they knew who the suspect was or that he was not required to pick someone. Bowie acknowledged that on April 13, 2014, the detective did not make any threats or promises in exchange for a statement, and that his statements was freely and voluntarily given. Bowie was then asked whether a police detective came to his home on April 25, 2015 and showed him a 6-person photo array. He denied recognizing People's Exhibit 31, which is a 6-person photo array. Bowie was then asked the following questions, which are at issue on his appeal. Question: is this photo array with 6 individuals in it? Yes. And do you know a person nicknamed Rondo Number 9? Defense counsel objection. The court overruled. No. Do you know a person with the nickname C-Day? Defense counsel objection. Answer: no. The court overruled. Bowie did not recall testifying before the grand jury on being in a room with a court reporter, taking down everything that an ASA was asking, or taking an oath to tell the truth in May 2014, or reviewing his grand jury transcript. Bowie recalled only being questioned by police officers. The ASA then read the grand jury transcript into the record, stopping periodically to ask Bowie if he had been asked those questions and provided those answers before the grand jury. He then denied each time. The grand jury transcript contained substantially the same information as Bowie's videotaped statement. Before the grand jury, Bowie identified DROSE as the shooter and explained that he recognized DROSE because they had played basketball together when Bowie was 13 years old. The grand jury transcript also contained information concerning Bowie's failure to appear in response to a subpoena in this case. Before the grand jury, Bowie testified that he had received a subpoena to appear before the grand jury, but he ignored it, and he was subsequently arrested on May 15, 2014 in Wisconsin for failure to appear, and that he waived extradition to return to Illinois to appear before a grand jury. At trial, Bowie denied being asked those questions and providing those answers. When asked if he wanted to be there today, he replied no, and he acknowledged that he still had a pending case for his failure to appear. On cross, Bowie testified that he had pending contempt charges. that if he did not show up in court, he would be locked up, and the ASA had asked for a warrant to issue. On the night of the shooting, when he first met with police, he told them that he was not even there when it happened. Between February 12, 2014 and April 2014, he did not speak with the police, but he did speak with his brother, Daryl Johnson, and with John George about what happened. In April 2014, when he had a conversation with the police at his mother's house, he felt harassed by the police. Bowie explained what he meant by harassed. They kept continually coming. I kept telling them no, and they put out warrants. I went out of town. I didn't want nothing to do with them, and they kept continuing. After being arrested in Wisconsin, Bowie was in jail for 7 days, being moved from place to place, from Sheboygan to Maywood, and then to another location in Cook County. Bowie testified that on the night of the shooting, he and his friends possessed marijuana, and that they had gone to the convenience store looking for papers for the marijuana. While they had not smoked marijuana that day, they had smoked a lot the night before. Bowie smoked marijuana basically every day. Although he had not smoked before his trial testimony, when the white van first pulled up, Bowie did not even notice it, and his brother thought it was the police. The entire incident happened very fast. The shots happened immediately, and Bowie ran. When he first heard the shots, he fell, then rose and ran back the opposite way toward the store. John George, Darrell Johnson, and Keyshawn Bowie. Those are the three guys. Now, it was another guy by the name of Belcher. White Mike is what they called him at the time. He was there too, but he ended up dying tragically in the car crash. And I want to send my condolences, y'all, to anybody that was affected in this situation, because a kid did lose his life. Young kid. And I think I'm going to talk about him first. So, DROSE was arrested for killing Venzel Richardson. You know, young kid, man. And that's what I noticed when I was doing this video. Like, a lot of these guys that names was being yelled back in the day, and even still today, people do stories on, a lot of these guys was kids, man. I'm talking about young kids. Jakara, Tuka, DROSE, you know, Big V. They was children. 15, 16, 17. And what happened was, Clout came into the world. It's so bad, y'all, in Chicago when it got to do with Clout. And that explains their presence on the internet right now. Like, what these guys in Chicago doing right now was what they normally known to do. Chase Clout. They see nothing wrong with it. And somehow, some way, back then, it got presented like Clout was a good thing. Clout is dangerous if it's not used properly. You know, it's always better to be slept on, y'all. Because if I know you a killer, and you know I'm a killer, what's going to happen when we meet each other? You understand what I'm saying? As opposed to, you don't know how I'm coming. You might think I'm a square. Might drop your guard. You understand? Now, I got the ups. But in Chicago, when you chasing Clout, everybody want a name. And a lot of times when you got a name, them name ring bells. Most times, the bells of the police. So when your name is buzzing and ringing, the police is coming. That's just how it is. Now, Clout is so bad in Chicago. You got King Lord J, the Clout Lord. You got FBG Duck. Clout Lord, it's Clout Father, some shit. Everything is involved in Clout, and it's presented to them like it's a good thing to have. But it's not. It's dangerous. I think we see that now, if it's not used properly. But when you're dealing with children as young as 15 years old, of course they're not going to know how to use Clout properly. A lot of these killings in Chicago, especially back then, maybe even still now, was people being murdered for no other reason other than Clout. Imagine that, y'all. In cities that's not real prevalent on that shit, like Baltimore. Like, I couldn't imagine people killing for Clout. Nah. In Baltimore, people kill for money. People kill for disrespect. It's not Clout related. Very rarely. I ain't saying it never happened. But very rarely does this happen. But with DROSE, in his situation, DROSE was targeted by the police, y'all. It's targeted. If y'all listen to how these guys was questioned, A lot of times, wasn't no parent there. Questioned them 3-4 times before they actually got a statement from any one of those guys. And then, even with some of these guys, and I can't remember all their names at once, so I'm just going to put them all in the, you know what I mean? Put them all in the pot. Some of these guys that they was questioned, y'all, parents wasn't there. Now, I know that's not against the law, but the city of Chicago and their police department, yo, was cutting it real close dealing with juveniles.
The two say their 34 years behind bars were the result of Chicago police detectives fabricating evidence, forcing others to testify against them. Washington claims he was beaten into a confession.
One of the kids even testified at 13 years old in front of the grand jury, y'all. 13, 14 years old. Imagine that. A 13-year-old on the stand in front of a grand jury of adults in a court-like setting. Yo, you can almost get them to say anything. You understand? Like, yo, I don't even understand how they was even allowed to bring a whole case against DROSE with nothing but juvenile witnesses. No adults. And these guys didn't even know DROSE. They questioned them and identified them off of music videos. One of the kids said he turned back for 3 seconds and saying it was DROSE. Like, yo, if anybody ever been in a situation like that, that's not quick enough. That's not a long enough stare to know exactly who shot you with full certainty. I think Shorty even said that in the interview. Like, I never said this was guaranteed. I said it's possibility. It might be. But when you listen to Tay Savage, and Tay Savage explained what was going on in Chicago at that time, and shout out to Tay Savage. Tay Savage looked like he one of the ones that, you know, I don't really see him chasing clout too much. It's like he's a solid guy to me. But when you listen to Tay Savage explain what was going on at that time, you heard him say that the police didn't even want DROSE in the district because of clout. Now, he was doing things too. And a lot of times, yo, when you find yourself in a situation like DROSE probably not even arrested for what they said he did. He's arrested for what he got away with. And the city of Chicago seems like they is totally fine with that. But that's wrong. That's not going by the rules. You know, it's rules to this, man. And it's saying like these states be allowed to go above and beyond the rules anytime they want to. Now, you got a 17-year-old. I think he was 16 at the time when he caught this case. 40 years in prison, man. DROSE is scheduled to be home by the time he's close to 58. What can you expect from a 58-year-old man that been arrested since he was 17 once you get on the streets? Next to nothing. Next to nothing, yo. I don't believe, yo, at that age, you should be able to get no more than 20, 25 years, man. You know, let them come home in their 30s. You know, give them a chance. But when you take a kid whole life away off a decision that they definitely won't make now, DROSE Muslim. You hear the difference in the way he talk. And then, like, I'm going all over the place, y'all, but rock with me because I'm real passionate about this, yo, because this really bothers me. And then you talk about Chief KEEF and how he carried it. A case can be made that Chief KEEF is the reason that DROSE caught this case. Blew his name up. Made him hot. You understand? And then turned his back on him. DROSE went in front of the judge, y'all, and had a $100,000 bail, couldn't bail out. And had a public defender as a lawyer. Now, I know this was another time. Those guys ain't have the money. But goddamn, the boy been locked up since 2014, y'all. That's 10 years. Within that 10-year time frame, y'all couldn't come up with nothing. Now, for what I understand, King Von was trying to get him out before he got murdered. King Von was putting money together to get DROSE a lawyer. I think King Von was doing that for a lot of the guys. But it looked like to me, yo, when it come down to Chicago, it's like it was a test ran on them, man, back then. You feel me? We gonna test this thing in Chicago. We gonna call it Clout. And it got out of control. And a lot of people died. And now it's spreading to different cities and different states. But if you look back at what it did to Chicago and what it's doing probably still currently to Chicago, man, you shouldn't want nothing to do with it. It's dangerous. It's deadly. L.A. Capone. Lord JoJo. Like, these are some of the names that come to mind. These guys was on Clout. Making diss songs, dissing your apps. Clout. FBG Duck murdered because of Clout. Like, yo, this is insane to me, yo. Like, when I really got back and started looking at this boy case, I'm like, yo, this is wild. Like, I started feeling like I was in Chicago, y'all. And they need to free DROSE. Because he didn't get a fair trial. A lot of these things that them police officers was doing, yo, was out of line. They didn't even know who DROSE was until they got some type of intelligence. The intelligence that they're saying is a car got pulled over. The same white van got pulled over with C-Day, Rondo number 9, and DROSE in the car. Like, that doesn't mean at the time of this shooting it was the same 3. Because the only person who went to prison was DROSE. And if for y'all that know, when you young like that and you ride around, man, that's the neighborhood car. We all might be in that car. Anybody could have been in that car. Now, I didn't say speculations. I didn't say somebody say King Von name. I didn't say somebody say somebody name, Lil Boo. You know, these are some of the guys that could have did it. But either way, the whole hood was in that van. They didn't fingerprint the van or nothing. They don't got no gun. They don't got no fingerprints on the shells. They don't have any of that. This is the second time they did the Lee Lucas, y'all. They doing it to Brazy, where Clout is sending black men to prison, black boys, black children to prison, and they're not letting them out. You got the whole world screaming DROSE, certified members of Chicago streets saying free DROSE. He didn't do it. He innocent. But somehow, some way, he getting denied the appeal. He's still in prison. And it's like, yo, the guys with the money ain't doing nothing. It seemed like to me, y'all. And it's just me speculating. And it might sound wild to some people. Like they was told, man, leave him alone. Let him sit. Because I can't understand, y'all. I wouldn't even be able to sleep at night. If I was Chief Keef, and I was yelling my homeboy name out like that, and I know, partly because me yelling his name got him hot, and now he in prison for a murder he didn't do, I wouldn't even be able to sleep at night, y'all. Like, I don't understand how some of these people look at themselves in the mirror, man. That's dirty, yo. And that's why I said in the last video, if Chief Keef was from Baltimore, and he done that to one of his homeboys in Baltimore, man, we wouldn't even claim Chief Keef no more. At all. So that's probably why some people do feel like that about Chief Keef. And I get it. Yo, cause that's out of order, man. That's out of order, y'all. Anything less than paying for his whole lawyer, it's out of order. I ain't talking about sending money on CONVICT. Because if y'all know that man ain't do it, and just having him rot in prison when partly the reason he in prison is because y'all was yelling his name, yo, I can't respect that, man. But, like I say, yo, DROSE is locked up for Clout. And Clout has killed in Chicago. On more ways than one. By the way of death and by the way of prison. With substantial years. Then they let the police bring up Rondo number 9 name. C-Day name. With just a month earlier, C-Day and Rondo number 9 was a major case, was arrested for murder. And the reason they said they brought him up is because, you know, they was all in the car together, but that don't have nothing to do with the fact that DROSE is locked up for murder and the van was similar. Because they not locked up for this. They're not even suspects. You know, they had them on a photo array. They didn't get picked. It was a time in trial, y'all, during closing arguments, where DROSE defense attorney told the truth and told the jury that it took these people, these children, all 3 of them, 3 months to say DROSE did this shoot. Then the prosecution get up on stand and say no, it didn't take them 3 months. It took them 48 hours. You know, they had DROSE's name on day 2. Yo, but that is misleading as a motherfucker, y'all. Because They didn't get D-Rose's name because D-Rose was pointed out as a suspect. They got D-Rose's name because D-Rose is in that car with the other 3 guys on a total separate, unrelated traffic stop. But during trial, they made it seem like that he was a suspect all along. And he wasn't. So they shouldn't have even been able to been brought up in trial if he had a good lawyer, if he had correct representation. But he didn't. But let me know how y'all feel about this in the comments. I know this video was long-winded, yo, but I really was upset, yo, going through this case, man. I really was, yo. I hate to see it, yo, because that could have been me. That could have been me at 19 years old. That's why it bothers me the way it does, man. And I've seen so many people that it happened to. Now, I don't know if they was guilty or not, yo, but 50 years at 17 years old, yo, that's wrong to me. And I know people might say, well, he took a life. I get it. Trust me, I do. Condolences to all lives lost. But do that make it right? To take a life? He took a life, so you take his life? Is that an even swap? I don't know. Some people might say it is. I just believe in second chances. And I believe also that if he can take that decision back, especially right now, he would. And it also comes to a point when you lock a person up at 17 years old or 15 years old, however young they is, by the time they 30, you're not even arresting the same person. But they still paying for the consequence for a decision that they made when their brain wasn't even fully developed. But in Chicago, and probably still going on now in Chicago, they is killing for names. They is killing for clout. No other reason. These guys, though they might have been ops, they didn't know D-Rose. Said never even seen him before other than on videos. Now they could have been lying. And then they gave multiple statements. Multiple. Denied they didn't pick him several times. And I told y'all the police can put pressures on you and make you do things, will make people do things that they don't want to do. I've seen it in my own case. I done covered a few. And you dealing with juveniles. A lot of them questioned without their parents. You can just imagine what happened. But let me know how y'all feel about this in the comments, man. Do y'all think D-Rose was railroaded? Did he deserve another trial? At least a retrial. Give him a appeal. Give him a retrial. But he just got denied in 2019 now. I'm sure he can file another one. I think you can keep filing appeals however long as they gonna take them. You know, you hear Trench's News talk about he got his peoples on it. Now, I don't think that D-Rose need to do anything with Trench's News as far as if he come home. You know, if you're gonna help him get him out, fine. But I wouldn't align myself with nothing Trench's News got going on. Straight up, because he ain't living right. He on the ship waiting to sink. But let me know how y'all feel about this in the comments. This is another day of Keep It G News.
Nigga can't do what I do, y'all niggas can't copy me. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep the shit G. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep shit G.